Well, straight to some breaking news now. SEBI has initiated a preliminary examination over an alleged leak of Axis Bank's quarterly earnings. SEBI has observed that a WhatsApp message was doing the rounds before Axis Bank's first quarter earnings for these financial results were supposed to be released, and the final numbers were similar to the one that was doing the rounds on WhatsApp. Gross NPA and net NPAs as well as the net interest margins are exactly the same on the WhatsApp message and the final earnings report. Slippages numbers was incorrect and write-offs were just marginally off the mark. The message in circulation in WhatsApp was, of course, prior to the fact that the numbers had been put out. Joining us now, Sriram Subramanian of InGovern. Sriram, appreciate you joining us here. So SEBI asking Axis Bank to conduct an inquiry, Sriram, for the issue of unpublished, or for that WhatsApp that allegedly carried Axis Bank's results before they were published. Your first reaction?
No, I'm surprised that a regulator has to ask the company to conduct an internal inquiry. If there is a suspicion, SEBI has the powers and the rights to conduct an inquiry suo moto and investigate the matter within Axis Bank and seize and search and seize whatever records are available at Axis Bank. So I think the onus is on SEBI to conduct the inquiry and the investigation. It's not the onus. No, it's not transferring the onus on Axis Bank itself. It shouldn't. So I think that this is a very grave matter, and unfortunately in India, nobody or the fear of the regulator is not there, and this is again sort of soft peddling, I would think. I mean, when a regulator suspects that and there has been concrete evidence, so there should be a hard-hitting inquiry and direct investigation by the regulator itself when it has all the powers required.
I'm just looking. Yes.
Yeah.
Just to read out for the benefit of our viewers, the order that has been put out by SEBI. SEBI says in its order, Axis Bank shall strengthen its processes, systems, controls forthwith to ensure that such instances of leakage of unpublished price-sensitive information do not recur in future. Axis Bank shall conduct an internal inquiry into the leakage of unpublished price-sensitive information relating to its financial results and take appropriate action against those responsible for the same in accordance with the law. If SEBI has conducted a prima facie investigation, why is it asking Axis to hold people responsible and take action, Sriram?
Yeah, that is what is surprising. I mean, and this is where the regulator having evidence, having prima facie some suspicion of malified this one or breakage of law, should conduct an inquiry on its own volition and should search and seize records. So there is no point in putting the onus on Axis, and this is also asking Axis to strengthen its processes in future. But what about the leaks that happened in the past? So who is responsible for that? The capital markets, the integrity of the capital markets, and the investors at large demand that such an inquiry be conducted for the leaks that happened in the past, and sort of an action be taken against the culprits of the past, and not be condoned so easily and saying that it has to be fixed for the future. Fixed for the future is a different thing. I mean, it is something which is desirable. But what about especially if you think there is a prima facie evidence and there is suspicion that there was leakage?
You're right, and again I go back to the order, because the SEBI order says it is noted that leakage of unpublished quarterly financial results covered under the definition of UPSI under regulation of the PIT regulations, which eventually led to the circulation of messages through WhatsApp, is prohibited and is in contravention of Regulation 3.1 and 2 of the SEBI prohibition of insider trading regulations. If that in fact is the case of the prima facie investigation, then again I'm trying to understand why the regulator is choosing not to act and is instead asking Axis to act, Sriram.
Yeah, that is what is very surprising. I mean, and it is almost as if SEBI is admitting, of course, insider trading cases or insider access to UPSI is not easy to investigate and prove, but yet transferring the onus onto the company is not going to solve the problem. Rather the investigation be conducted by SEBI itself and some conclusion arrived at.
Yeah. Oh, let me get a quick word from Amit Tandon of IIAS. He joins us as well. Amit, Sriram Subramaniam of InGovern here with us, surprised by the order that's come in from SEBI. What do you make of it, the fact that the regulator is asking Axis Bank to conduct an internal inquiry into an alleged breach of insider trading norms?
Shivin, I think it is, at one level it is surprising, but at the other, if you look at it, you have to see that there is a digital trail which has been established. Now, the best person to kind of figure out where this trail is leading to are people, internal people, rather than someone outside, because it's extremely unlikely that SEBI would be able to kind of access all the mail trails and other information which is going through. So I think at this level, what they want them to do is to establish, look, there was a mail trail. Who are the people who have been in the know? Now, it's not necessarily just the people in the accounts department, but it could also be people in the IT department who have access to this information.
Yeah.
So I think at one level, they're kind of treading cautiously, saying that we are not accusing you or anyone in your bank at this stage, but what we are doing is figuring out who are the people who had access to and where the leak could have come from.
What is the message that this sends out? It says in the order, it's observed that at this stage, the source or origin of the leakage of the unpublished information cannot be ascertained. So that is part of the SEBI order, Amit. But what's the message that this will send out? Because, you know, this malaise of information being circulated on WhatsApp is now under SEBI's watch. So what's the message that the regulator has sent out, even though it might ask Axis to conduct an internal inquiry? But what's the larger message you take away from this?
Look, I think if you look at one of the more high-profile cases, it took SEBI about 7 or 8 or 9 years before they kind of put out some penalty, and the investigation was going on. So one of the messages which this is certainly sending out is that SEBI is serious about it, and they are, in a sense, relatively prompt. They also recognize that, look, they don't have access to all the information the same way as companies do, and therefore companies themselves need to take onus over who has access to information and insist that it kind of continues to remain within a safe container. So both of those are important.
All right, messages. That is the, Yes, those are important messages, but for now, the SEBI order categorically stating that Axis Bank will conduct an internal inquiry. The inquiry directed shall be completed within a period of 3 months from the date of the order, which has been passed today, and within 7 days from the completion thereof, Axis Bank shall file a report to SEBI in that regard. Sriram Subramaniam, Amit Tandon, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV18. The other big story